President Pranab Mukherjee made his first speech to members of the 16th Lok Sabha at a joint session of Parliament in Central Hall just an hour ago. In it, the President laid down his agenda for the new government. He said Narendra Modi's biggest challenge would be lifting India's millions of poor from poverty. To assist them, he outlined a number of other schemes ranging from containing inflation to improving access to health services, improving the quality and quantity of education and gender equality. On the economy, he said the government will focus on helping industries that create jobs and infrastructural assets to boost the GDP and ensure there was no jobless growth. He also outlined environment programs ranging from the Ganga cleaning project to the Himalayas and boosting clean energy. Finally, he focused on security and foreign policy, pushing for proper implementation of the one rank, one pension scheme for the armed forces, as well as plans for a national war memorial. Finally, he said the country would not tolerate religious extremism and adopt a zero tolerance policy towards terrorism. Joining me now, Hartosh Singh Bal, our National Affairs Editor, Javed Ansari, T.R. Ramachandran, Senior Journalist as well. Hartosh, the upcoming budget, parameters on the economy, on employment and price rise are going to be the immediate sort of measure on which this government's really going to be judged and observed.
Absolutely, and I think this is where we will see the details and the emphasis of this government. Because it's one thing to say that you will accelerate job creation.
Yes.
It's another thing to lay out policies which will actually do so. I mean, one of the problems with the UPA era was even in terms of, in the years of high growth, we were not getting job creation.
Yes.
And this is one of the key promises Modi has brought to the table. That requires a different kind of vision. And that needs to be spelled out in the budget. It requires a difference in the whole emphasis on the industrial sector and how we are looking at investment in this country. It's a very major question. And certainly, so far what we've seen does not give us a hint on how this is to be achieved.
Yes. Well, no hints so far on how this is going to be achieved.
One of the key areas I'd be what?
Yes. Yes, go ahead, Hartosh, complete your point.
No, so I'm saying this is one of the most important issues in the budget that I'd be looking at, because it's one of the key promises for the Modi government, that unemployment is an issue that he wants to tackle. Again, we need to see results quickly. People expect that.
Yeah. Mr. Ramachandran, it's understandable that, the precise specifics of how they plan to do it aren't really known just yet. The government, is 2 weeks in harness. But the time has run out for generalities. It's no longer just about a vision and what you intend to do. Like we've been talking for the last half hour, it's going to be about results and how they're going to accelerate, the alleviation of unemployment, increase growth and increase the number of jobs. People are going to want to talk in numbers now.
I think you're very, very right, Shiv. The fact remains that you have aroused the aspirations of the young in the country.
Yes.
The kind of speeches you made about how this government, UPA government, had totally failed, and that it had now come to rest upon him in particular and the BJP-led alliance to turn around things as quickly as possible. And some of the aspirations that he really put forth and made it a point to rub it in was to say that, listen, we are going to come and give a pep to industrialization.
Yes.
And along with it, we are going to create jobs. The President has pointedly mentioned this aspect in his whole address to the joint sitting of Parliament, where he has said that we need to create jobs is our highest priority. Without that, it is not going to be possible to put the economy on an even keel. For all this to happen, we need to see what are the finer points and the small print in the budget, which is going to be presented Mr. Arun Jaitley, who is the Union Finance Minister.
Yes.
So I think in overall terms, if you look at it, even economists and others are keenly waiting to see what is the fine print that you're going to see.
Well, they've been talking about it for so long, so they're going to want to see the specifics now.
They are really going to want to see the specifics, because I think Mr. Jaitley has had meetings with all the important people, whether it is the industry or whether it is, others on the ground and so on and so forth. So everybody has really put forth their point. But I think all said and done, one sector which is going to get a major fillip and shot in the arm is the industry sector.
Yes.
I think we need to get back to greater push to industry as such, because that is where the real job creation
Well,
is.
in many ways, it's an exciting time, because even the government knows that with this speech in the joint session, the time for generalities is over. It's no longer just about a broad vision being put down. It's going to be about delivering now. It's about real results, real numbers, and real achievements on the ground when they actually start to trickle in. Hartosh, interestingly, you said, no great ideological departure in this vision that's been set out, between the NDA and the UPA. Is that because you can't really deviate very much when you set out a broad vision of this kind in a country like this?
Look, if you go back, it's not as if the UPA had departed drastically from an agenda set out by the NDA.
Yes.
I think post 92, as post-liberalization, we have got more or less a consensus on where we are going, which is why I'm raising questions of job creation, because it seems to be a fundamental problem in our vision. It's not simply a question of delivery.
Yes.
And it would be interesting to see how this is addressed.
It's going to be interesting to see.
There are issues.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Issues which point not to a flaw in the delivery mechanism, but in the conception of how we are to develop, are issues where Narendra Modi is going to have a problem, because the problems with the UP as far as job creation was concerned did not have anything to do with delivery, but it was lay in the very way we had conceptualized industrial growth in this country.
Yes.
I don't see how that can be solved by what Modi plans to do right now.
Well, those questions are bound to be there, and they will intensify with every move that the government actually makes. Javed, I want to bring you in on the other crucial issue of the numbers in Parliament. In Lok Sabha, it's easy street. In Rajya Sabha, it's going to be a pretty rough ride. There's also, a general bit of ambiguity as far as the composition of the opposition is concerned. And this is something that the government is going to be well aware about and look to exploit as it goes forward in implementing this vision.
Yes, but like I said, much will depend on how they play this, because this needs to be handled deftly. Let's just go back to the Lok Sabha from 1984 to 1989. Mr. Rajiv Gandhi had a 400 plus majority. The Congress had won 414 or 16 seats,
yes,
in the Lok Sabha. Yet halfway through that Lok Sabha just made life miserable for Mr. Rajiv Gandhi. They just frittered away the mandate. There was no opposition, there was no LOP, yet whatever was there in the name of opposition, they banded together and made life miserable. So Mr. Modi, if he seeks a confrontationist attitude, that is not going to pay him great dividends in the upper house, because already there's talk of all the anti-BJP parties banding together, and if that happens, then a lot of legislation will stall. So he'll have to use the carrot and the stick and try and not rub the Congress entirely the wrong way, because then it could lead to problems in the upper house. And mandates don't necessarily guarantee stability. Rajiv Gandhi had an unprecedented mandate, but halfway through his reign, his government became extremely unstable. So everything will depend on Mr. Modi's sagacity. He said all the right things, he's been doing all the right things, but like we said, these are early days. Yes, he'll be, once the rubber hits the road,
yes,
we'll know if things start going bad. Once the rubber hits the road, the reality will come home.
That's the point. Hartosh, several symbolic things have been done in the last couple of weeks. Lots of gestures, they've been dissected over and over again. You've had Shashi Tharoor talk about, sort of the things that he has said about Narendra Modi, more inclusive, Narendra Modi 2.0, nothing like the man he was during the election campaign. The aggression is muted. He's the Prime Minister of the country. Now, any indications you're picking up from the last 2 weeks, Hartosh, about how Narendra Modi plans to handle the opposition?
Look, quite clearly, I think a lot has been made out that he had made no statement about the incidents in UP or Pune. But if you look at it in the larger context, I think the Rajya Sabha is the place where a contest is looming up ahead. He needs to take state governments with him. I think it would be foolish at this point to expect that he's going to take these state governments head on to score a few publicity points when larger issues need to be worked out in the Rajya Sabha, important legislation may come up. So I think he has been conciliatory, because that is where his interest lies as a politician. He needs to work with the state governments, get a move ahead in the Rajya Sabha, and make sure that he can actually deliver. I think the publicity can wait.
So the publicity can wait. He's going to have to look at how he can actually get the work done. Mr. Ramachandran, in the Rajya Sabha, tell us about how you think things are going to go in the Rajya Sabha. There have been, conciliatory meetings, friendly meetings with the BJD, with the AIADMK, with the Trinamool as well. How do you see that going? I mean, that's where the real trouble is going to be, the upper house.
Well, one of the major changes that one has seen in Modi in the last fortnight or so after he became Prime Minister is that he wants to take along as many political parties with him as possible.
Yes.
The fact remains that overtures, he and the BJP leaders have made overtures to AIADMK. There was no problem there because Modi and Jayalalitha, the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, have known each other.
Yes.
They have mutual respect and they have known each other. The other aspect is of Mamata Banerjee, who also won very well in West Bengal. 34 seats out of 42 is quite beyond her own expectations. They have sent her feelers as well, but there has been no response from Mamata Banerjee. As of now, her difficulties are different from Jayalalitha and Tamil Nadu. If she is seen to be promoting or encouraging the BJP by any form, I think she has a big problem on hands as far as the minority votes and others are concerned in West Bengal. As regards BJD, Mr. Naveen Patnaik in Odisha, Shivaru, let's not forget he's become Chief Minister for the 4th time in Odisha. And the fact remains that he wields far more influence than anybody else over there.
That's right.
He has given indications that he would like to join hands and go on issue-based support to the BJP, which means he is asking for special status for Odisha because it's backward. And by that he'll benefit by a huge number of money. The same is the case with TDP. TDP finds itself in a far more enviable position now because of various factors. Don't forget, he had the largest number of seats when Mr. Vajpayee became the Prime Minister. He was the single largest supporter of the BJP at that point of time. And the problem for Mr. Modi is not to head a confrontation, but to take all of them along as though the BJP-led NDA were a national government.
It's going to be a contrast to what we've seen so far. It's early days yet, but a non-confrontational approach is something that perhaps people won't be used to. We're going to have to see how it's actually played. Like all of our guests today have said, it's the specifics that the Narendra Modi government is actually going to be judged on. Hartosh Singh Bal, T.R. Ramachandran and our National Affairs Editor Javed Ansari, thanks very much for joining me.